Good thing we have noise reduction. Welcome to the episode 8 Sarazanmai podcast on the Sapphic Sanctuary channel, hosted by the pedantic romantic YouTube anime sensation and Twitch streamer extraordinaire, along with Zaria, the queen of Yuri, the goddess of Yuri, and writes books.
Good introduction, dear.
Thank you. I'll take my paycheck and be on my way.
Not getting much of a paycheck anymore, baby.
Oh no, don't say that.
Anyways, welcome back, folks. This has been a great time. Episode's a little late.
30 seconds in, it's already been a great time. You're a wonderful audience. Thank you for stopping by.
Episode's coming out a little later than we'd like, though certainly earlier than the last week's did. Episode 8 sure fucking happened.
Yeah, I think maybe the most interesting point from which to start is the broader reaction that we saw to it.
Which was very positive. Weirdly positive.
Right. Well, very positive, and specifically like the show has gotten good, baby.
Or like, this is the best episode of the show. I saw some people like, totally upends what the show is. And it doesn't.
No, that's the other thing. Like,
it doesn't.
Best episode of the show in conjunction with, like, dramatic right turn, shocking twist, changes everything.
Okay, so let's get things on the fucking table. Enta seems fucking dead.
Yeah.
It seems like they killed Enta. That's not a dramatic twist.
No.
Or it is a dramatic twist, but it is not a total shift in the formula. No. It is not like a switch from the way things have worked. It's true that there isn't a battle with a Kappa zombie, but there wasn't one in episode 6 either. Episode 6 was the big change, if any, or episode 5, depending, you know.
Characters have, like, gotten shot and killed already. Like, not just in the, like, the metaphorical cop shit. Like, the dude that Toy fucking blasted. Like, this is not a foreign concept to the world of the show up till this point. And obviously you weren't expecting it to happen to a main character necessarily, but it doesn't radically change things.
No. And I think it's worth talking about that so that we can talk about how Sarazanmai is being perceived. Because a big reason that some friends and some others...
Some friends and some soon-to-be enemies.
Did like this episode is that they felt it gave character to the characters of the show that had not previously been there. We have friends, including friends who have appeared on this very podcast, who think that this is the weakest Ikuhara anime, and that the characters have, like, less going on than Yurikuma's. First of all, that's dumb. Sorry, Gianni, you're called out here. I'm not fucking holding back. This show is better than Yurikuma Arashi. Straightforwardly, and I can't even see how you could possibly argue that the characters have less going on than Yurikuma's. Like, legitimately don't see how. Yeah. Yurikuma's characters are, aside from Lulu, totally one note. They have no real depth. They have personal motivations at the very least, but, like, it's really just Lulu. Maybe Yurigasaki, which I think is, or not Yurigasaki, Yurika, you know, the teacher lady.
Teacher president.
She's got, like, a little more going on.
Mm-hmm.
But not nearly as much. And I think it's interesting in looking at why people think Sarazanmai's characters have less depth to them, or just are less interesting than previous shows, especially, again, Yurikuma, which I just cannot see any argument for how the characters in Sarazanmai have less going on. I could see, like, less personally, liking them personally less. But I also, honestly, I'm gonna make a controversial take here. I don't see how you can prefer Yurikuma to Sarazanmai unless you're very invested in stories about lesbianism and very disinvested in stories about gay boys. It's just a better show.
Big.
I see this as a massive Ikuhara fan and a massive Yurikuma fan. I'm a strong defender of a show that a lot of people outright don't like, but it's got a huge ton of problems that Sarazanmai doesn't have. And I will admit, I have a particular standpoint here that's different. A lot of people's favorite Ikuhara, I'd say the majority's, is Utena. Yurikuma has more in common with Utena. Sarazanmai has more in common with Penguin Drum. Penguin Drum is my absolute favorite, and is easily my top 5 anime. It's one of those anime that circles around at various points, is just my favorite anime. As a sequel to Penguin Drum, in a sense, Sarazanmai cannot but be my second favorite Ikuhara show, as long as it doesn't, like, fuck something up in the last 3 episodes. And that is a specific standpoint I'm coming to this from. But I want to think about why so many people aren't connecting to the characters. Obviously, plenty of people are.
Yeah.
People love a lot of all these characters. But many others aren't really keep connecting to them all that deeply. And I wonder why that is. And specifically people who did connect to past Iguana characters, including Inuyuta Kuma.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any ideas?
Well, I think a good point to start from is what seems to have set this episode apart from people in creating some degree of investment for them. So the character moments, the character beats, the developments we got in this episode were sort of straightforward in a way that resonated with people, and in like a pretty direct way. And that's sort of the sticking point in that that experience seems somewhat bizarre to people like Zeri and people like myself, who thought that throughout most of things, the characterization has been fairly straightforward. And it felt like even more obviously so, and just like it was handled in such a way that is like especially easy to connect to. It kind of followed, not like it wasn't trope-y, but it followed some sort of like pre-existing tropes to a degree such that people could sort of connect with it and interface with it on the level of things they've seen before and use that to sort of guide their expectations and viewing experience.
Guide my hips.
Alright, you fucker. The jokes are my job, and they're clearly my job for a reason.
You make that joke all the fucking time. I don't want to hear it.
Not on a podcast. I have higher standards of what
whatever
slop I'm going to serve my audience. So yeah, I think decoding the sort of the lack of connection to the characters and their arcs lies in decent part in sort of viewing the degree to which this episode did things differently. Maybe part of it is just that like all the characters, all the main boys here are kind of shitty people, and like that makes it hard. And like
that's common for
shitty.
Iguana, though.
No, they're like shitty people in like different ways, if that makes sense. Like I think they don't necessarily hit upon insecurities that are as broad, maybe in their personal weaknesses.
I don't know. It's just like I feel like let's take Enta because he died.
Yeah.
What are the big issues for Enta and with Enta? Like, what insecurities does he have going on?
Source, unrequited love.
Everyone connects to that.
Yeah.
Everyone connects to Juri.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Juri for that.
Issues, abandonment,
and Utena.
Possessiveness.
Everyone loves fucking Lulu. Enta is Lulu. Yeah. Enta is the Lulu of this show. And everyone adores Lulu. Maybe because she's the only character in that show with any depth, but like, everyone loves Lulu.
I mean, I guess Kazuki is like the most main of the main characters, and he's like, I mean, he's in the broad strokes, he's got like guilt over feeling like responsible
like, he
for
lied.
Causing stuff.
He lied. That's bad, but like,
yeah, I guess if we're trying to like reverse engineer it, what is likable and endearing about Kazuki?
He's just a genuine boy.
Is that like a fairly generic and sort of
he's like my least, but Toy exists, so I don't really give a shit, dude.
We already know your feelings about Toy.
The others don't. Well, I'm just saying, like, how Toy is like a super deep character with like, yeah, he does bad things, but he's also clearly not a bad person. He's easy to relate to.
No, yeah, Toy's like he's like the definition of be gay, do crimes. He's like,
and I mean, Enta like is just a sad gay boy who has a crush on his friend and like is afraid that friend. Like both of these are easily to connect to.
These are like two archetypes that people love: be gay, do crimes, edgy, sad boy who like has a tragic past and like has to turn to crime to like support his poor family.
Get the real woke take. We're just not friends with enough Fujos.
I guess that's true. Like, they are, like, drawing upon, like, gay boy content appeal in their characterization, and, like, we just, like, don't have enough Fujos in our circle that can appreciate this shit.
No, like, most of our circle is really way more
into Yuri. You fucking homophobes. Cancelled. Jack, get out of here. UFO, it's garbage. This is a real gay rap.
I think Jack's, like, really loving Sarazanmai, though.
Gianni, get out of here.
I mean, UFO is cancelled and is garbage, to be clear. But, you know, unfortunately it's not literally cancelled and is getting more content.
Maybe that's it. Maybe, like, a big part of why people aren't connecting to the characters is just, like,
they're boys.
A lack of BL literacy.
And unlike Penguin Drum, where, like, they're boys in a very, like, abstract and like I think gender's still important in Penguin Drum, and I think they're very interesting ways to read the show's gender stuff. But it's not focused on gender, where all of Ikuhara's other shows are.
Yeah.
Utena directly so, Yurikuma by being about lesbians.
Right.
Sarazanmai by being about gay boys.
Once again, inherently tackles
And
it.
even going back to Sailor Moon, it's a magical girl show, and inherently magical girl shows talk about
femininity
girlhood.
And girlhood, yeah.
So, Penguin Drum being the only one not about gender, I think it's easier for people to connect to the boys. And Utena, of course, has boys, but Utena has very shoujo appeal. It's really appealing to girls generally, girls and women. And girls and women obviously have very diverse sexual orientations, but like lots of girls are into boys, and a lot of those girls like the boys in Utena.
Yeah.
That is not really true, or it is true for Sarazanmai, but not in our circles.
Yeah.
Because it's not shoujo appeal, it's very specifically BL appeal, which is a little different.
You're totally
or
right.
Or Ikuhara appeal, but Ikuhara has not done BL.
Right.
He's had boys who are bi. Yeah. Every guy in Utena is bi. But
every guy fucks.
I'm pretty sure they're all bi.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Akio, for buying the entire male cast.
Akio is... Miki is, especially in the novels, when he gets fucked by Toga. Toga is...
Oga.
Sayonji's definitely into Toga. And... what's his name?
Fucking the boy in the library building, purple hair, I forget his hair color. He's like the dude
who likes Judy and like comes for 2 episodes and then like leaves.
No, I was thinking of the guy in the second arc,
Mikage.
Dude,
Mikage is extremely gay.
Yeah, he's super gay. I don't know if he's bi, but he's definitely gay.
No, he's bi because he was also into remember he was into the doctor lady,
Uh-huh.
and then he was also into that lady's younger brother.
Thank you. We stand a woke director king.
And yeah, as I was saying, the only boy who's not explicitly bi is the guy who's in love with Judy and involved and dates Shiori to fuck her up and try and get Judy to realize that Shiori's a shitty person. But in doing so is kind of a shitty person, and then he dies of an illness.
All straight boys must die in Udna.
Anyway, which is only one boy, so so it's actually not that dangerous. Well, I mean, that's technically not true with the boy who's into Nanami.
Look forward to
Mitsuru, I think.
Look forward to my upcoming Utna video titled "All Straight Boys Must Die." Very innocuously titled. No one will take that the wrong way.
Anyways. Back to the topic at hand.
More like the topic at hand job, these gay boys.
I don't think there's enough Fujoshi in our circles, and I really think that that's an interesting thing. It really speaks to the way Ikuhara has been typecast as this director of, lesbians. Which is not to say he does not, talk about lesbians, but I think a lot of people, both haters and lovers, have tended to think Ikuhara is really fascinated by lesbians in this, weird, fetishizing way. He's just focused on queer people and often likes writing about girls. And just as a result, writes about queer girls.
Yeah.
I think Sarazanmai makes that very clear.
No, for sure. I also think that, all of his prior shows, barring, of course, Mawaru, Penguin Drum, but the other prior shows, focus on girls, but even in this, Mawaru, Penguin Drum included, are, girl-y in that, as we said, they have those shoujo aesthetics, whereas Sarazanmai is less girl-y, even though obviously the BL tropes
it's worth noting
to women.
Literally
it's less feminine in that way.
Every show Ikuhara has ever made has had a female character.
Yeah.
Utena obviously had Chiho Saito.
Yep.
Penguin Drum had Lily Hoshino, a relatively popular josei mangaka. Worth noting, his manga spinoff, which he considers one of his main projects, Nokemono to Hanayome, is drawn by... what's her name? I literally reviewed one of her manga recently. She's the mangaka of Dokyusei. Very famous, very popular. Yurikuma has Morishima Akiko, a Yuri mangaka and josei mangaka, but mostly Yuri josei. And I cannot remember off the top of my head who's the character designer for Sarazanmai, but they are isn't it? It's a
Terumi Nishi? No. Terumi Nishi did
Penguin Drum. She adapted the character designs to Penguin Drum.
I'll look that up right now. Sarazanmai. Of course, I just remembered that the original character designs for Sarazanmai were by Migi, and the character designs adapted were Kayoko Ishikawa.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Migi is a BL artist.
Uh-huh.
So, Ikuhara has always tried to appeal to girls, and I think any argument that he hasn't is frankly absurd. On like
It's
all
myopic.
levels. Well, it's just aesthetically. He's
Yeah.
clearly like working within shoujo and josei culture, and he's always been interested in working in that sphere. So, but there's different kinds of girls and women.
Yeah.
You know, there's no monolithic
sure.
group. So these works, which appeal to girls and obviously guys too,
Mhm.
and like NBs, as you can see from this fucking podcast, is interpreted differently depending on the kinds of characters in them.
Mhm.
So I just think it's a little bit of a shame that people seem to be connecting less to the characters because they're boys. I don't want to be mean here, but people who I'm friends with have said that, like, they were mostly interested in the show with the potential of Kazuki being trans because that was relatable.
Mhm.
And it's a big shame to me to be unable to care about these characters. And it's not like you're a bad person or anything. I just think it is unfortunate to not be able to relate to these characters because they're boys.
No, I guess that's true. I guess there's like, even beyond what we've said already, there's more of an openness to girl characters. Like any of the guys, the cis guys in our general circles are like super down for girly stuff, be that like precures, shoujo stuff, just cute girls, you know, any of that, like they're down for. And then any of the trans people, you know, especially trans feminine people, NB people, whatever, like are down for girl content too. Whereas for those trans people, a lot of them like actively like want to distance themselves on some level from masculinity and boys and boyish stuff. And then for like the cis guys, like that's just not like as much of a draw for them in a general sense. So there's like those dynamics at play.
For sure, and I do just think it's a little unfortunate. But we should probably move on and actually talk about this episode again.
Indeed.
Because really all we've talked about is the perception of this episode and not the episode proper.
That's true. It's good content.
It is good content, but honestly, I think it's less theoretically interesting than a lot of the content we've had thus far.
No, it was like fun as all the episodes are, but it did not even like particularly stand out, bar that like big impactful ending there.
Which is why we found it odd, because having already connected to the characters so strongly, it was an episode that furthered character stuff, but it was not an episode that like established character stuff. So what was there certainly though is valuable. Kazuki's fucking alone. I just said Kazuki's all alone. Yeah. Respond.
Kazuki has sort of been left out on his own here, insofar as he sort of pushed Enta away, and then Enta
died.
pushed his chest into the bullet that was aimed at Kazuki, so Enta's gone, and Toy has left with his brother. So Kazuki is both very emotionally distraught and very isolated. Toy's got to get back here real quick to help my boy out, but as of right now, the straits are pretty dire.
You know, okay.
In the preview, there was a scene with him and Haruka, so maybe like some comfort comes from there, and he like reconnects to Haruka on some level.
Let me remind you, at the end of the episode, in post credits, he tried to call Toy. It cut away. I don't think Toy picked up. He's like real alone, aside from Haruka, which is the connection he's been able to make. Now, I do think another parallel to Penguin Drum is the preview also showed the cops. They're still after Toy's brother. You know what that means? You know what that reminds me of? Penguin Drum, where the series ends because the cops are finally busting down the fucking doors of the Aum Shinrikyo remnants. And do I know what that means necessarily right now? No. And let me actually also remind you, Yurikuma ends in a similar way, with not the cops, but the Invisible Storm, which are policing sexuality, coming in and finally tracking down Lulu and Ginkgo as bears. Utena, I don't think really has quite that level of structure.
That's why it's the best Ikohara show, no cops.
Because Utena goes to Akio rather than the reverse.
Akio, the ultimate cop.
Kinda.
And that mob is kind of cop mob.
The mob that's like that threw the sword that like stabbed Anthony with all the swords. Yeah. But that's just a cool connection to Penguin Drum that I will need to see at least how the next episode plays out to see what it means and what I think about it thematically and theoretically.
Indeed. Do we want to talk about Deo Mabu stuff?
After one more thing, which is the fact that Toy met Kazuki as a kid.
Oh yeah, no, like fated childhood friend bullshit. I love it. I slurped that.
I don't know if they were friends in any meaningful way. They met once.
Star-crossed, fated.
First of all, they're fated lovers. I adore them. I hope everyone's seen on my timeline the retweet I once made of them when they were on their date in the like park holding hands with the cat, and it's like so cute.
Oh god.
What?
It's just I love how into it you are. You're so soft for these boys.
I love them. Please keep going. I have to think about them.
Oh no. Well, I brought up the fact that we should discuss Seo and Mabu stuff.
You're not going to talk about the Kazuki Toy stuff at all?
What is there to talk about, really?
Well, I mean, aside from being character stuff, I think it means something about connections.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Instead of being no beginning,
there was an underlying connection there. Yeah, that's good shit.
Okay, now we can go.
Okay. Are you okay? Are you broken?
I'm thinking about Toy.
Yeah, you fucking... You, like, get high whenever you said think about Toy. You, like, drift off.
He's really good.
God.
Please. Go! I'll get back into the state. If you, like... Go. Please.
I don't. I brought Ray and Mavo up because I don't remember what happened in the episode with them. I just knew
they did almost nothing!
Alright.
Well, here's what happened with Ray and Mabu. They tracked down Toy's brother.
Oh, that's right.
They tried to kill him.
Yeah.
He got away.
Right. The interesting thing there is that
we
got like a real ass like bullet both for Enta and for the other dude. Like the metaphorical dance sequence, whatever shit did not happen.
They're also just shooting people.
Yeah, they're shooting people in the street and
then turning them into cops.
And yeah, what was interesting there was I was sort of expecting when the two cops confronted them for some like thin blue line bullshit, where like the two, just about myself, you know how it is. But the other two cops were like, hey, you murdered this guy, this isn't okay. And the way they sort of got away with that within the structure of the police was to like use some brainwashing tech thing on them, which doesn't like.
Wait, no, I was about to say, I think that's like an allegorical representation for how the system will like change these cops who might otherwise be good people prior to becoming cops into people who will ignore this kind of stuff. Like, even if it's not necessarily in their nature, the institution shapes them into doing so.
No, and that's not even like as much of a reach as your weird fucking intonation there made it feel like.
I'm still thinking about
yeah, no, I figured. So yeah, it's not that such a reading is at all precluded. It's just that it was a little less straightforward with things. Certainly, the Otter Empire is running the show up to a certain point, and so if the Otter Empire has tech, which it was branded as such, the little devices they use to brainwash their fellow cops there, if the Otter Empire has the power to make them overlook these extrajudicial police killings in like a very efficient and seamless manner, then it sort of inherently speaks to the tendencies of the police system, because otters are part of that.
That's cool, but I have another thing to say. This episode really proved to me that Kazuki is crushing hard on Toy, and that's without even knowing their past. He was so angry at Enta for the shit. He was so like, oh, you fucked with Toy, you bitch.
No, he was like enraged to the point that he like hurt Enta pretty deeply
over Toy.
Right, because of what Enta did to Toy. And yeah, it is interesting to note the fact that Kazuki has
I understand Kazuki's perspective.
Yeah. Interesting to note the fact that Kazuki has forgotten his pre-existing connection with Toy, which is very relevant to sort of the ideas the series putting forth about how our connections are broken down and get forgotten, and we get distanced from them, and how we sort of need to come together and cherish those connections and really focus on building them up and holding them closely.
I think it was Toy who said something like,
Yeah.
You only know how important your connection is once you've lost it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was something that sort of suggested like almost like an inevitability of you losing your connections and then like regretting that fact. Like a sort of a natural course of these connections is the fact that you will devalue them in the moment until it's too late.
Is that true though?
No, I mean, I think there's definitely going to be a model put forth for how you can combat that like, even if it's a tendency that exists, it's something that is being noted here because you need to fight against it, or it could be misguided and, like, they've become disillusioned by the world.
Maybe Ikuhara's saying that the kind of connections we establish in late capitalism through communicative technologies are inherently transient, but that's not necessarily the case. That doesn't have to be the case for connections as a whole.
No, and I mean, if we're talking about the basis for Kazuki and Toi's connection, it was similar to what his with Enta's was.
Misanga, baby.
Yeah, that little bracelet with the soccer thing on it.
The Misanga, baby.
And so a product that we've seen like shipped out from Kapazon in these boxes, you know, a commodity produced under capital, is the sort of that physical element of their connection. So their connection is like based upon capital in like a very explicit and direct way.
Modified, baby.
Oh god, is Syria just fucking broken for the rest of the fucking podcast?
I've said things.
Yeah, you said things. You have not said them well, nor have you said...
I've said things of value, just not well.
Yeah. Alright, but that was all the major points we wanted to hit in this episode. No.
What was the end of the episode? So, like, he tried to call Toy, and Toy didn't pick up as far as we could tell, and then cut to something else. It was the cops. It was something with the cops. I don't know.
And then one other cool Easter egg of note is the fact that in the ED, where all three of our main boys, their shadows are there normally, Enta's was missing in here, and it was just Kazuki and Toy walking along. Very gut punch. Good shit, dog.
Is he still dead for real? Who the fuck knows?
Thank you for tuning in, though, to this episode of the Sarazanmai podcast featuring etc., etc. We'll see you next week.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.